Excuse me. Would you all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of the regular meetings on the bulletin board in the municipal building and by providing a copy of the annual notice of the regular meetings for the year 2017 to the Glen Ridge paper, the Glen Ridge Voice, the Montclair Times, and to the Star Ledger on Tuesday, January 10th, 2017, and by filing said notice in the office of the municipal clerk. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Hughes.
Present.
Vasovich.
Here.
Leftwich.
Here.
Dawson is absent. Councilor Murphy.
Here.
Morrow.
Here.
Mayor Patrick is present. Mr. Mayor, do you have a quorum?
Thank you, Michael. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of our April 10th, 2017 regular meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Paul. Second, Peter, thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilperson Hughes.
Aye.
Vasovich.
Aye.
Leftwich.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays. The motion is carried.
Are there any communications?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Received a letter from Timothy Stafford, the manager of the Township of Montclair, consenting on behalf of the township the enforcement of any ordinance regulating persons from bringing dogs or other domestic animals other than service animals onto the Montclair-owned property, also known as George Washington Field. And then we received a list of events from the Office of the County Executive, which are posted on our webpage. And then finally, from the Essex County Department of Public Works, they gave us a packet containing important mosquito control information. That includes correspondence, Mr. Mayor.
We file correspondence, please. At this time, I am suspending the regular order for a detailed discussion of Glen Ridge's affordable housing situation. Tonight, Glen Ridge again welcomes Elizabeth McKenzie. Betsy is the court-appointed special master in the builder's remedy lawsuit brought against Glen Ridge by Glen Ridge developers, whose principal is Joseph Forgione. That action began in July 2015 and is now pending before the New Jersey Superior Court. In its lawsuit, Glen Ridge developers seeks to build 125 housing units on the approximately 2.2 contiguous acres known as 273, 275, 277, 283, and 289 Baldwin Street. Of the 125 proposed units, each of undisclosed size, 19 would qualify as affordable housing. These Baldwin Street properties are all single-family dwelling units and are not zoned for multi-family use. As part of its acquiring title to these properties, Glen Ridge Developers seeks to assemble and consolidate them into a 2.2 acre parcel, thereby creating and making land available for a mix of market rate and affordable housing. Glen Ridge has always acknowledged its constitutional obligation to provide its fair share of housing, which is affordable to low and moderate income households. Glen Ridge opposed the project proposed by Glen Ridge developers largely because of its size and lack of detail. Cognizant of Glen Ridge's opposition, the court appointed Betsy as special master to review the positions of Glen Ridge developers and Glen Ridge, and also to assist in the determination of Glen Ridge's regional fair share of affordable housing, which is itself the subject of a larger matter involving other suburban Essex County municipalities, and to report her findings and her recommendations to the court. As the public may recall, Betsy previously appeared before the Glen Ridge public on December 12, 2016. At that time, she discussed the general impact that New Jersey's affordable housing mandate has had on the Glen Ridge community, as well as the specific impact which the builder's remedy litigation has on Glen Ridge. Historically, Glen Ridge has had no vacant land available for the construction and development of affordably priced housing units. Dependency of the builder's remedy proceeding has changed that. By assembling and consolidating the Baldwin Street properties into one 2.2 acre parcel, land has been created and made available for a mix of market rate and affordable housing. Because that land had not been previously available for this purpose, a changed circumstance has arisen, and this directly affects Glen Ridge's affordable housing obligation. If Glen Ridge does not resolve its issues with Glen Ridge developers and allow a project which includes an affordable housing component on the Baldwin Street site, the court can change the character of the Baldwin Street residential properties, notwithstanding their classification as residential zone, and notwithstanding any objection of the mayor and council. Municipalities that fight builders' remedy lawsuits run the risk and suffer the monetary and societal consequences of protracted and costly litigation, fee shifting in which the affected municipality may be ordered to bear all costs of the litigation, regardless of whether such costs were incurred by the developer or by the municipality. Court orders mandating the construction of projects larger than what could have been negotiated, and the commencement of additional builders' remedy lawsuits if total affordable housing needs remain unmet despite the construction of the project being litigated. The special master has already cautioned that if either the builders' remedy litigation or the larger Essex County consolidated proceeding is determined adversely to Glen Ridge, the following adverse consequences could occur. 1, the court could impose a high affordable housing obligation on Glen Ridge, resulting in a project larger than one on which the developer is willing to settle, and without the quality controls that Glen Ridge could extract from a negotiated settlement. 2, fee shifting could be imposed upon Glen Ridge, resulting in Glen Ridge's bearing all costs of the litigation, regardless of whether such costs were incurred by Glen Ridge developers or by Glen Ridge. 3, because it has unmet need, Glen Ridge could be exposed to building remedy lawsuits brought by other developers who create land in Glen Ridge by the buying and consolidation of lots and property. To this end, Glen Ridge has been working with the special master to negotiate a settlement of the builders' remedy lawsuit with respect to the Baldwin Street properties, and also to negotiate a settlement of the larger consolidated Essex County proceeding with respect to Glen Ridge's present and future regional fair share affordable housing obligations. The goal is to prepare a constitutionally compliant affordable housing plan approved by the special master and acceptable to affordable housing advocate Fair Share Housing Center. Fair Share Housing Center's consent is also a requirement for any resolution of the affordable housing component of the builders' remedy lawsuit, even if such resolution is otherwise satisfactory to Glen Ridge developers. Tonight, the special master will address the public as to the parameters of the agreement, which is being negotiated by Glen Ridge and Glen Ridge developers. The special master has been involved with and participated in all aspects of the negotiations. The topics which Glen Ridge and Glen Ridge developers have discussed and on which they have tentatively agreed as a result of the mediation process are as follows. These items would be embodied into a settlement agreement. 1, the size of the project will be fixed at 98 rather than the 125 which Glen Ridge developers originally sought. 2, the mix of the proposed 98 units would be as follows. There would be 83 market rate units. At least 42 of the market rate units would be one-bedroom units. No more than 41 of the market rate units would be two-bedroom units. No market rate unit would have 3 or more bedrooms. There would be 15 affordable housing units, of which 3 would be one-bedroom, 9 would be two-bedroom, and 3 would be three-bedroom, and all of which would comply with accepted uniform housing affordability controls standards. As it relates to any one-bedroom units with dens and/or two-bedroom units with dens and/or three-bedroom units with dens, restrictions would be put into place which would prevent these dens from being used as a bedroom. The height of the project, including the parking structure, would not exceed 41 feet from the mean natural grade. There would be a minimum of 188 parking spaces as determined by reference to RSI requirements. 1.8 spaces for each one-bedroom unit, 2 spaces for each two-bedroom unit, and 2.1 spaces for each three-bedroom unit. There will be no front yard parking allowed. The view of the parking structure and parapet would be masked from the street by the creation of an approximately 4,000 square feet, plus or minus, lobby amenity. The egress point would be at a point as far south as possible from the Highland Avenue Bridge intersection. A park-like open space area would be created on the northeast side of the project to minimize conflict with the Highland Avenue Bridge intersection. The project's massing would be mitigated by the aforesaid park-like open space area on the northeast side of the Baldwin Street properties. The front yard setback would be 30 feet. Design, but not project approval, would be coordinated with Glen Ridge's Historic Preservation Committee. Good neighbor policies, scheduling days and times of garbage collection, recycling collection, lawn mowing, leaf blowing, shrubbery planting, trimming, and outside building repair and maintenance would be practiced with respect to neighboring Head Start School and Washington Athletic Fields and other neighbors. And finally, the project would be designed and constructed and maintained in a manner to achieve accreditation as well certified. Glen Ridge is unsure how the court would resolve the builder's remedy lawsuit or determine a compliant fair share housing plan for Glen Ridge for the period from 1999 to 2015 and thereafter to 2025, including the actual number of affordable housing and market units that Glen Ridge would be charged to build. A resolution of the builder's remedy proceeding, coupled with a resolution of fair share housing's fair share claims with respect to Glen Ridge, would curtail the ongoing cost of litigation, allow Glen Ridge input into the development of Baldwin Street, and would provide Glen Ridge with a 10-year moratorium against future litigation over this issue. During that time, the New Jersey courts and the New Jersey legislature might be able to better address this statewide issue. Last but of course not least, as a responsible member of the Essex County and New Jersey communities, Glen Ridge would be fulfilling its constitutional obligation to provide its fair share of affordable housing to those who need it. It is Glen Ridge's goal to continue to work cooperatively with the special master to develop a settlement that, as best as possible, maintains the current quality of life in Glen Ridge, while also recognizing that the building of affordable housing is a mandate that Glen Ridge must in some fashion embrace, plan for, and realize in some capacity. As the mayor and council weigh these options, we are of the belief that a negotiated resolution presents the best resolution for Glen Ridge. Lastly, we recognize that changed circumstances have arisen in that Glen Ridge Developers has in fact acquired or controls title of all 5 properties on which the project will be built. All such properties are now or soon will be vacant, and representations have been made that applications will be filed for the demolition of the 5 buildings. In recognition of the foregoing, the project may now constitute an area in need of redevelopment. Glen Ridge and Glen Ridge Developers will pursue this possibility as part of ongoing negotiations. We now welcome the special master to address the public, and we acknowledge and appreciate her efforts today.
Hello, I'm going to turn so that my back isn't to most of you. Actually, what I might do is move this, and hopefully all of you can see me. Well, first of all, I just want to reiterate, thank you, Mayor, for that very good and very thorough introduction. I just want to reiterate that I was appointed by the court initially by Judge Carey, and then subsequently Judge Gardner now has the case. As the court-appointed special master, when you were sued by the developer, in this case by the plaintiff, under Mount Laurel 2, because you had not complied with your affordable housing obligations. Although you had previously had a housing element and fair share plan, none of it had been implemented. You had some zoning in place, but you were unable to actually have anything materialize, and a third-round plan had not been filed. And so you were with COA, and so consequently you were in a situation where through what is, not necessarily any particular fault, you are a fully developed municipality, but because of the fact that someone was able to assemble parcels and make an arrangement to purchase all of those parcels, you had a developer who could produce an inclusionary development that would have affordable housing. Consequently, you were sued. And when that happens, there is sort of a process that you go through with the court where, first of all, there is a determination that you are not in compliance, and as of that time, Glen Ridge was not in compliance. And then there is a determination needs to be made about whether or not it is appropriate to grant a builder's remedy to that particular builder. And for this, the court usually needs a court-appointed master, who is usually a planner, and that's what I am, to evaluate what's being proposed and try to work with the parties to come to some sort of an agreement as to what might be acceptable on the property. And, you know, generally these things start out with nobody particularly being happy with the other party, and there's, nobody likes to be sued, and nobody likes to be surprised by somebody assembling land that everybody thought was, fine the way it was. That's human nature. And developers are always annoyed because they think towns should roll over and say, this is great, come, welcome. And towns don't usually do that. So, but I have to say, I think that once the council wrapped its head around where they were in terms of their constitutional fair share obligations, the need for affordable housing, and the fact that this isn't something that you can't come out of a lawsuit like this winning in the sense of nothing happening. The only way out is through the lawsuit to resolve things, try to work out a settlement with the developer that you can live with, and then go on and get the rest of your affordable housing plan approved. So Glen Ridge really worked very diligently in negotiations with the developer to try to, first of all, get the number of units down to something that would be more manageable on the site. And when I say be more manageable, it meant that they wanted him to meet the parking requirements. They wanted not to have wall-to-wall building and parking. They wanted to have some open space in the front. They wanted to, initially early plans showed a driveway coming in near the railroad tracks, which was far too close to the intersection, which is a troublesome intersection. The first time I saw it, it's like, whoa, what do I do here? It's not an easy intersection. So, these were real problems. And there was also the very real concern about the fact that you have the athletic fields and the Head Start program school across the street, and there was a concern about how this development might impact that. And there was a concern that all of the parking that was required for this development would need to be provided on the site, because there's limited on-street parking, and it's needed when there are athletic events by the community, so there could be no reliance on on-street parking as a way to support the development. All of these things were extremely important to the council as they went through the negotiations, and also to your professionals who largely led the initial, mediation sessions. But all of these were issues that were brought up and considered to be important, and as a result, they were successful in getting the developer down to 98 units instead of 125, to having things that limit the number of bedrooms in the market units. There are some requirements that have to be met with respect to the spread of units in the affordable units. You have to have a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, but they, and that is something that you can't do anything about. That's sort of, mandated by the rules that have been promulgated pursuant to the Fair Housing Act. But basically, they got it down to be a manageable development where all of the parking will be there. It'll be hidden in a parking garage. The property is, within close enough proximity to the train station in Montclair, so that there was a feeling that people might very well end up, some people might end up using the train and not using cars, but nevertheless, there will be enough parking. The reason for that, is also because of just a concern about, if somebody should come to visit or somebody should have a party, you want to make sure you have enough parking spaces no matter what. That's built in to the standards that were applied, which are the residential site improvement standards. That visitor parking component is built into the standard, so that will be taken care of. But there was no, often developers come in, and if they're near a train station, they want to provide like 1.6 parking spaces per unit. That didn't happen here. They're going to provide the full complement of the required parking. So, and also the design of the building is extremely important, and the developer expressed a willingness. Sorry, step away. Not here. All right. Okay. The developer expressed a willingness to work with your historic commission to, make sure that the design of the building would be acceptable. That was very important. And really has indicated a willingness to coordinate all of the things that the mayor talked about in terms of the good neighbor issues, the pickups, garbage pickups and recycling pickups, things of that nature, that they would not occur at times when the street needed to be used for other purposes, because that, I think, was important just in terms of traffic control. So you will, if assuming that the settlement agreement is ultimately approved, and it has not yet been approved by the council yet, but this is sort of an opportunity to air it publicly and hear from the public about it. But assuming that the settlement agreement is approved, you would then be in a position to go back and sort of put to bed the rest of the lawsuit, which is figuring out how this site plays into meeting your affordable housing obligations. Will have a fair share number that's been developed by Fair Share Housing Center that is probably higher than anything you could have ever imagined, but you won't. You will be eligible for a vacant land adjustment, because I went over all of your vacant land with your planner, Jeff Janota. He did a really thorough job, and there are simply there are not parcels running around, waiting for people to develop them. So you won't be having a lot of that. You do have a group home in town that you can get credit for, and you'll get some rental bonus credits on this project. With that, you will probably have a significant unmet need that will just be approved by the court as part of your unmet need. And there are some mechanisms that we have talked about with Mr. Janota that, assuming, the planning board has to approve this and then the governing body has to approve it, but, there are ways in which you can take some zoning that you already put in place over the Glen Ridge Golf Course, the part that's actually in Glen Ridge, most of it's not, which was a surprise to me. But you'll be able to maybe allow a little higher density there, maybe get a combination of age-restricted and non-age restricted, because it's big enough to have more than one building. This property was not big enough to have separate buildings for senior and non-senior development, and you need to have them in separate buildings. It's a federal law. There's a requirement that the senior, that if you're going to have an age-restricted development, that it be its own development. But you could do that in the context of a sort of a planned development on a somewhat larger site where you really developed it as two separate developments. But you can't do it on this site. The developer looked at that and is simply was unable to be able to develop this site with two separate buildings and as two separate developments. It's just not quite big enough, even though it's bigger than anything else that exists and is available right now. So basically, we are where we are with it, but the benefit of the development is it will really go a long way to helping you produce some affordable housing units, as well as some very nice apartments for people that would like to live near the train station, maybe young couples, older people, who would like to rent a place in Glen Ridge. It's a really nice community, and it's a place where I think the developer feels that there's going to be some excitement about what he's going to build by people who would like to live here, or people who live here already and would like family members to be able to live closer. What else? One of the things about this building that the developer represented and that will be part of the settlement agreement is that it will be a wellness building or a well building. It will be constructed of non-toxic materials. It will be a building that is designed with a lot of opportunities for physical exercise. It will have, the kinds of amenities that sort of lead to a healthier lifestyle. That's the whole objective of it. And, as a place located next to the hospital, it's kind of that sort of makes some sense that this might be it might also be a place where members of the hospital staff would like to live, because it will be in close proximity. So I think it will be something that, if it's approved by the council, will accomplish a number of objectives. I think it will, in my opinion, it would be a good use of this site, and I particularly like the fact that the council was able to get the developer to drop the number of units down, because it gave us more flexibility in the siting of the building and the parking and meeting all the parking and things like that. But in addition, it will put you in a situation where you will be able to resolve your the Mount Laurel lawsuit that was brought by the developer, and also the issue of what is your affordable housing obligation, which is the kind of the issue that is before Judge Gardner right now with all of the other towns that are seeking declaratory judgments. That is the determination of your fair share obligation. I know in one particular county, Mercer County, there is an ongoing trial over the fair share obligations. It's costing the towns that are remaining in the lawsuit that have not settled, it's costing them, like $15,000 a day. It is a very expensive process with a lot of lawyers and experts. If you don't have to go through that, and if you're going to get a vacant land adjustment anyway, so that whatever the number is, it's not something you'll actually get to, it seems like this is sort of the best way out. And I feel that I will be able to, in terms of the preliminary planning that's been done, and also this particular proposal for this site, it's something I could comfortably recommend to the court. I think that your representatives have done a really good job of making this something that will still generate a good amount of affordable housing, but it's something you can all live with, because you will all be living with it. It's going to be in your town long after the developer leaves. So, and I think that's important. And ideally, when you have a builder's remedy lawsuit, if you can sort of make lemonade out of lemons and do something good with it that helps the town, it's a great thing. And I'm pleased with the diligence with which the mayor and council focused on their constitutional obligations and the need to address this. And instead of doing what some towns have done, and I've got to tell you that I've had a lot of experience with this, and some towns are so resistant to resolving anything that they don't end up getting as much good out of a development as I think that Glen Ridge is going to get. So I'm really pleased with all of you and what has been done. You've done a great job. And I hope that the settlement is ultimately approved. And I think the way we'll handle it procedurally is we'll also get a settlement with Fair Share Housing Center and present those both to the judge and really wrap up everything all at once. And there may be a few things left over to do after that, some ordinances to be adopted, but you'll basically be on your way to being done with all of this process. And I think that will be good for the budget. So, I don't know if you have any questions, or any of the council members have questions.
Yeah, Betsy, I'm sure a lot of the folks here are concerned about how many school-age children will this development generate.
Okay, that's a good question.
As opposed to what's currently there.
The market rate units, probably you will see, I would venture to say, almost no school-age children in the market rate units, because they are being so carefully controlled in terms of the bedroom mix. And if people are paying market rate, they want a little more space for themselves, so the chances are you're not going to have kids in that environment. The affordable units will, because they're family rental units, they have to generate some children. They may not all be school-age children, but they'll be children. I mean, you'll often have a young couple moving in that may have a baby, but by the time that baby is ready for school, they've got another child and they're ready to move out and find a house with a yard. So they don't necessarily stay through school age, but you could get a single mom with, a child moving into a two-bedroom affordable apartment. You could get a mom with two kids moving into a three-bedroom apartment. If she has a girl and a boy, it would be two children. Occasionally, you could have two girls and a boy, I suppose, or two boys and a girl, and still be in a three-bedroom apartment. But there are rules about occupancy in terms of not having more than two persons per bedroom, not having boys and girls in the same bedroom, and not requiring parents to sleep in the same room with their children. So all of those things help keep down, the tendency to, overcrowd people, because, and that's handled by the administrative agent, who actually, although he'll be paid by the developer, he will report to the mayor and council. The administrative agent places people, he advertises the availability, makes sure that people know about the units, and then places applicants who are income qualified into the affordable units. And that's a process that, there are people out there who are experts at how to do that, how to do the affirmative marketing, and then how to qualify everybody. And then they make sure that people are placed in the right size unit. Because the whole idea of affordable housing is decent, safe, standard housing that people can enjoy living in. Frequently, people who are searching for affordable housing only have as their other alternative something that's really substandard or overcrowded or too expensive. So this way, you avoid that. You get something that is affordable, but also has the right amount of space. It's not luxurious space often. It's just a good amount of space for that size family, and that's what you're looking to have. So you will have, I would say, this is a long way to answer your question. Now I'm going to give you what I think. I think in the affordable units you'll have to have at least 3 out of 15. You'll have to have, you can have up to 3 one-bedroom units, which the developer's going to do. And those I don't think will generate any school kids. But you'll get possibly 2 school-age children. You could get as many as 2 school-age children in a 3-bedroom unit, and that would be, I would say, you're going to have 3 of those. So that could be 6 kids, and then in the 2-bedroom units, I would say you'll get at least 1 school kid. You may get other kids that are not school age, but 1 school age kid. There'll be 9 of those. So I would say altogether you're looking at 6, 9, 15, a maximum of 15 school kids out of the affordable unit. But I don't think you will be getting them out of the others. I had asked earlier when I was talking with some people on the council, or actually to Michael Rojas, about the what the zoning of the property would yield if you were to take all the buildings down and then subdivide it in accordance with the ordinance, and you could get 9 single-family homes there. If you had 9 single-family homes, chances are you might get just about that number of kids anyway. So it's probably going to be about a wash. Doesn't mean, I mean, all development has impacts. I'm not going to try to sit here and say you're never going to notice this development. It's going to act, it'll be something different. But it could be something positive that's different, and that's what I think the effort has been to make it positive if it's going to have to be there, and I think that's the right approach. So, in any case, if there are any other questions, I'm happy to keep answering questions.
And speak to the design that it's in the historic district, and I think Peter Herrick,
yes,
here, the chair of the Historic Preservation Commission, can talk about that, but it will be in the district, so it will have to go before them.
It will absolutely have to go before them for review, and it is in the historic district, and the developer spent a great deal of effort trying to come up with a building design that I think he felt would fit in well. Whether his design or some modification of that design is what the Historical Commission wants, it will be, they will provide the feedback on that, and the developer is, I think, is committed to working with them to try to make sure that the design and the facades and everything is something they want. There are also limitations that have been put into the settlement agreement on building height and things of that nature. So, and the front yard setback and where the parking, all those parameters that the mayor sort of read off to you are the things that have been discussed and sort of agreed to by the parties, but subject to, obviously, the mayor and council approving it. But, I mean, that's what the developer has said he would do if this were approved. Yeah.
Betsy, can you speak again to the issue that was important to us as well about the quality of the building, this developer?
Yes, I think I will say I have run into this developer in other towns where I'm the court master, and I think one of the things I can say about him is that he does seem to deliver a very, he does what he says he's going to do, and he does deliver a very nice building. He's got, projects in a couple of other towns where I'm the master, so I'm aware of his work. And I think the council spent a lot of time worrying about the quality of the building and specifying the things that they wanted. So this was not, this isn't something where it's just taking it on the developer's word. The council has also, as part of the negotiations and mediation, sort of said these are the kinds of things we want. We want these amenities. We want the parking hidden. We want the landscaping. We want the building to be of a design that fits in with the historic district. We want to see, a building height limit that we can live with, and also that you want a building that has smaller units, in part because the smaller market units also, I think, reduces a little bit the parking dependency, but it also accomplishes something else, and that is that it allows you to build a slightly smaller building to accommodate that number of units. You can do it in a slightly smaller envelope because of the sizes of the market units. So there were a lot of things that went into the issue of the design of the building and how it would fit on the site. Is there anything else that I've missed that I should cover?
You did talk about the massing.
Oh, yes.
We didn't want massing, we wanted setbacks and...
Well, setbacks and having breaks in the building and a large break in the front where there would be more green, and also having the driveway pushed as far away from the train tracks and from that intersection as possible, so that would be safer. Obviously, it's still got to get into the parking garage, but moving that away. Yes, all of those, but the design of the building, the appearance of the building materials to be used in the building, all of that was a matter of a great deal of discussion, because the whole idea was to try to, again, recognize that this building's in the historic district, and it is in an area where a lot of people are going to look at it. So that was very important. But it was not just the building materials, but also how the building massing was arranged on the site. That was critical and an important part of it. And I don't have a drawing here, but at some point I would imagine a drawing would be able to be submitted, before there's a vote on this. That shows, I've seen sketches, but in other words, you may want to present that to the public, before you actually take a vote on it. But that would not be, I don't think that's happening tonight. So at some point, we'll make sure that exhibit is available to the public. But I think the way it's done, it's well done. It's very well done. I think you guys got more mainly because you kept, you recognized that you would have to keep on talking to this developer, and, he obviously wanted, things he wanted. He wanted more units, but he was, because you kept him at the table, you ended up getting, I think, the best kind of product that you could possibly get out of him in terms of getting all of the things you wanted to make it work. So it was well done.
I think we have a question back there. Would you stand up and give your name, please? And
I can provide that information. You mean on the affordable units or the market units? The market units I have no idea, but the affordable units I can probably give you some sample rent ranges. I've done that for other areas. I don't think I have that calculation here in Glenridge, but I would be happy to make that available to the mayor and council, and then I don't know how they want to circulate that publicly, but I'm happy to give you that. I will tell you that in general, you have units that are going to be very low, units that are going to be low income, and units that are going to be moderate income. They get broken up, so it's half low and very low and half moderate. Moderate income units often rent for a price, for a rent level that is fairly, it's less than you pay for market, but it's not, it depends on the area and what the rental market is. Here it would be probably a bit lower, because your rental market, probably you can command a lot for rentals, because there aren't very many of them. I would say that you're looking at maybe $1,100, but that's after deducting from the gross rent the utility allowances, because tenants pay utilities such as gas and electric and things like that have to be deducted, because you're looking, when you calculate what's affordable, you're looking at the shelter cost. So that would be moderate. Low income is more like the 700 or 800 range, sometimes a little lower. Very low income can be around 500 or less a month. So those rents for those 15 units will be restricted, and they will be deed restricted. And the way the Uniform Housing Affordability Controls read is that they're deed restricted for a period of 30 years or until Glenridge elects to remove the restrictions. So could be for longer than that, which, developers would like more of a finite time period, but the way the rules read, you can keep them in place. So, in any case, they are really attempting, the reason for this is because people who are, very low and moderate income, who, work in our towns, who are part of our towns, but can't find housing in our towns, need housing that is priced at those levels. And so that is the reason for this sort of statewide mandate, constitutional mandate to provide affordable housing. It's not something Glen Ridge is capable of doing a lot of, but where you can do it, it's a good thing, in my opinion. So anyway, those will be the rent ranges on those units.
Betsy, sorry, those numbers, those are for one-bedrooms that you're throwing out?
It depends. I think it depends on whether they're 1, 2, or 3 bedrooms. It goes up for the 3 bedrooms. From those, I'm sort of averaging for maybe a 1 to 2 bedroom unit. Yeah. It depends. It's by housing. It's different here than it is, say, in Hunterdon County, because Hunterdon County has higher income ranges generally, so the rents are a little bit higher. In this area, I would have to look specifically for your housing region, which is housing region 2, which is Essex, Union, Warren, and Morris County. So I would have to do that calculation for your housing region. It is something I can do for you. It's not hard, but I just have to get the right numbers to start with.
Thank you for being here. Timothy Kingsgrove, this department.
Could you stand, please, give your name?
Timothy Kingsgrove, this department. Thank you for talking to us tonight.
Well,
Can you tell me what the basis of your conclusion is that some 80 units will not have any children living in them? What other study can you do?
The terms that the mayor and council wanted in the settlement agreement limit the number of bedrooms in market units to be, 1 and 2 bedrooms, and if they're going to have dens, they cannot be sleeping quarters, and which is easier for a landlord to enforce than if you sell the units. And my experience with other developments is that on the market units, they tend to generate very few school-age children. They may have children, but they don't generate the kind of school-age children that you would get in larger developments or in more traditional garden apartment developments that are 2 stories. The kids need to be close to the outside, and generally you're going to have kids that's where they tend to go. So it's been our experience throughout New Jersey, and there are studies, but I don't have them with me, and I didn't write them. They're studies that other people have done, that projects like this don't tend to generate many school kids at all. It's like 1 to 10, 1 per 10 units.
So that's 8 school kids in the market.
I don't think that they necessarily will. The 1 to 10 units often includes affordable as well. I'm just saying that there are specific requirements for how the affordable units are occupied in terms of people, so that I'm being a little bit overly conservative and projecting maybe a little more in those units. But I think that you're not even going to get 8 to 10 market units.
Well, we have 1 and 2 bedroom units that are rented out in Glen Ridge frequently by private owners. Was any comparison done with how?
I didn't do that kind of study.
Okay, so this is speculative.
It is based upon studies done elsewhere. It is not based on studies that we did in Glen Ridge. Right.
Betsy, may I just jump in here?
Sure.
We've talked to Montclair, and we've talked to Bloomfield, for example. Bloomfield completed 3 apartment buildings last year with a total of 1,000 units. They got 17 children, school-age children out of 1,000. The Montclair tells us their history appears to be 6 to 8 per 100 units. We are a little bit higher based upon our experience with about 10 per 100. So,
Which is pretty much on par with what the studies that I've seen.
yeah, so what we're saying is the fear that number of units will equate to a vast increase in school-age children is just not borne out either in Montclair, in Bloomfield, or in Glen Ridge.
Yeah,
You
but
got
on the other hand,
information out of the mayor that you got out of me. I can only say what's being said elsewhere in the state, but thank you. Great, good information.
yeah, but Mayor, on the other hand, too, we have an obligation to provide affordable housing and
Even if it generates
and
kids.
provide
Right.
for children who come to our town and need schooling.
Correct.
As simple as that.
Actually, you're absolutely right, and it has never been an argument, although some towns have tried to make it, before a judge when you're dealing with your affordable housing obligation that, well, we have a really severe problem with our schools and we don't know how we're going to fit kids in our schools. And it's like, unfortunately, that's also your obligation. But they just, sometimes there's no, connecting the dots on that. But, and I don't know what your school situation is, but I would imagine as with any municipality, you're always concerned about making sure that you continue to provide a really high-quality education that can suffer if you get a big influx of kids. But I don't think you'll have a big influx of kids.
Hi, Lori Jean Luigi, Oxford Street. I have two different process questions.
Sure.
One, to clarify what the mayor said in his opening remarks about fair share housing and consent being necessary. Is that upon us adopting this plan and the court?
There are
after this?
Yes, thank you. Great question. There are two kind of separate settlements you're going to need to engage in. One is the settlement with the builder plaintiff up at, which is doing that. And then the other is the settlement on, your overall plan and number, so the Fair Share Housing Center will not object, so that they will not attempt to intervene. They have interested party status from the Supreme Court in all the Mount Laurel cases throughout the state, and the declaratory judgment action. So they, settling with them is a good idea. Now, I've worked out settlements with them in like at least 30 other places already. So I know what they're going to be looking for. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to call them up and say, I've got a package for you that I think you'll be happy with. That's my job. That's my job to get you through that hurdle. And because they don't have time to run around and settle with everybody, so they kind of count on the masters to convey to the town what it will take. And they give a discount off their number if you settle with them. And they are, they're really good about vacant land adjustments. They accept that vacant land adjustments are necessary in parts of the state. So they're not ogres. They're a bunch of young guys. But their numbers are high, and so everybody thinks they're ogres.
The original number of units was to be 125. What was the number of low-income units?
That was going to be 25.
25. So do we think that there's...
What is it? 19.
No,
19.
19.
Oh, it's only 19.
So not a big...
Not a big difference.
We don't think
Drop
that
that.
would be a...
It's not going to be a problem.
My other process question was, you said that the administrative agent places people. Perhaps this is something you can't weigh in on, but is there any sense that you were talking about people who work in our community, are important in the lifeblood of our community? Is there some priority preference given to those people who have...
It's a good question. I understand your question, and it is a very good question. And early on, in the first set of Council on Affordable Housing rules, they allow residency, occupancy working preference for the first 50% of the unit for a period of time, and that was thrown out. However, I would not worry about this because what happened, first of all, Kay Hovnanian had done an early study because they were an early developer of affordable housing, way back when it started back in 1983 with the Mount Laurel II decision. And they did a study, and they determined that the people that live in the affordable units are pretty much demographically not dissimilar from the people that live in the market units, but they're younger and they have less money, and they all come from within 5 miles of the site.
I wasn't worried about demographics.
Yeah.
I was worried about taking care of people.
No. But what I'm saying is, if based on that demographic of people coming from within 5 miles, the chances are people in your community will be aware that this is going up. They're going to get their applications in. They still have to be, it's still, there's a lottery basis when you're renting up a new building, and there's a whole process that has to be blind. But if you've got a lot of local residents who are applying because they know about it, chances are you'll have a lot of local people ending up there. So it's not, you can't have a preference, but the chances are that people will, they will be people who for some reason want to live here. And they, so if they're working someplace else or they're far away, it's not going to serve them as well to live here. So
Well, we've got the train process.
you do, which is wonderful.
Which is wonderful.
It's a great thing. Yeah. So the other thing you are allowed to do, and this is something that you can certainly do, is you can give a preference for veterans. And a lot of towns like to do that. And that is something that is now allowed by state law. You can do a veteran's preference. And so if you want to add that, you are allowed to add that as something. So a lot of towns like that. You're welcome.
The low income worker, will that also include like Section 8 and government?
No, thank you for asking that question. It's a good question. No, these units are actually going to be deed restricted at a lower rent level, and they have to be affordable to households earning a certain income level. Section 8 is basically where somebody gets a voucher, and then they go and they rent a market rate unit, and the state pays, through federal funding, the state pays the difference between the market rate and what the person can afford to pay. In this situation, I'm not saying that somebody might not go into a low or very low income unit and also have a Section 8 voucher to help make up the difference if they're really very poor, but it's not designed for that. It's not designed as something that's independent of that. It's actually designed to have units that are by themselves affordable to people who are legitimately low or moderate income or very low income, so that they can afford it without having to deal with that. So that's the goal.
Go ahead.
Hi, Christina Cosmo, 76 Street. Do we have a sense of what the change in property taxes from this project will be?
I don't. I am sure that by the time all of this is done, it will be more valuable. But there are ways to handle that sometimes, depending on whether this site ends up being just a rezoning or whether the council decides they'd rather treat it as an area in need of redevelopment. There can be, it might have a different tax implication, but I don't know that they've made that decision as to what they're going to do yet. They can inform me of that if they have, but there are different ways to handle it. But I think you can expect that it will be positive because it's a new building and it's a lot more on the site than was there previously. So anyway, I don't have the information. I didn't do a calculation.
Yes. Could you give your name, please? Your name and address.
Are all these units will be rented or some ownership?
They will all be rented.
Thank you.
And then the one last component of this settlement would be a moratorium for approximately how many years?
It's not, they don't call it a moratorium, they call it repose. It's a judgment of compliance and repose, and it will take you through July of 2025. And then you'll have a new number, which you won't be able to meet either. But you never can tell when something...
That'll prevent future...
lawsuits. You'll be protected from future builders' remedy lawsuits, yes. And that is the goal, is to... And that is what was set up by the Supreme Court in the Mount Laurel II decision, that it encouraged builders' remedy lawsuits, but then it gave the towns the opportunity to get reposed from further lawsuits. And also, here's the thing, if you have not settled your builders' remedy lawsuit and it's still hanging out there are always other builders that could say, oh wait, I think I want to build there too, and then they come in and then they've got it. So the more diligently you can resolve a builders' remedy lawsuit, the more you can exercise your own control over your municipality and the planning that goes in. I mean, I haven't heard anybody in Glen Ridge say that they were opposed to affordable housing, but a lot of people will say, but what is it going to do to schools, traffic, the look of the parking needs, how safety, all of those are issues in any community, and those are legitimate issues that are associated with development, and, obviously that drove this discussion.
We're going to let Betsy go because she has a long drive home, but so if you have any other questions, please ask them now.
And if you want, I will do those calculations sometime in the next week or so.
I can post them on the webpage.
Pardon me?
I'll post them on the
That's good,
webpage.
okay, yeah. And I will just do a simple little
That'd be
report
fine.
and analysis, sort of the ranges, because they change from year to year. They're allowed to go up from year to year, but we'll do them for 2000, probably using the 2017 numbers, maybe after 2017.
That'd be fine, too.
But you'll get an idea of where it stands.
And the sketch?
The sketch I don't have, that we might have to get from...
That's kind of a work in progress.
We could
Okay.
show the site plan, but right now they're going to be working with the HPC.
On the design of the sort of agency. So maybe when you're all ready, then the whole package can be shown to everybody. That's probably the way you want to do it. That's up to you. But I don't possess the sketch. I didn't bring it. I have something, but, and I've been seeing it as it goes along, but, you know.
And it was a
Yeah, but this is not a final product yet.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Oh, that's the other thing. Please understand something. If the builder's remedy is awarded, the next step is that, you know, aside from, you know, adopting, you know, a housing element and stuff like that, there needs to be an ordinance or a redevelopment plan or whatever the borough decides to do. That has to be adopted at a public hearing, and then there still has to be an application for site plan approval that goes to the planning board, and that has a public hearing. And so there is plenty of public opportunity to comment on, you know, you may not be able to get rid of 98 units and 15 affordable, but there's a lot of opportunity to comment on, you know, design and, you know, issues, building appearance, landscaping, open space, things like that. And so I think that's, you know, I think we have to not lose sight of the fact that nothing is done until it's actually built. So.
There'll still be a traffic study, circulation, all of that.
Yeah, they'll be looking, and I'm sure that they will do some sort of an analysis, because they will need to for the site plan process. So. Anything else?
Okay.
All right. It's always a pleasure to see you, and always a pleasure to see all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
May I see a show of hands of people who have come here to be heard on the welcoming city resolution? Okay, I think that we will open the floor to the public to speak only at the beginning about the welcoming city, and those who have other matters that they'd like to discuss can come at the end of that. So, who would like to be heard first on comments to the welcoming city?
Yeah.
Yes. We have somebody here. Somebody is coming up. Go ahead.
Can we take the mic off?
Sure. Yes.
Want to use the mic here?
I can stand it.
I prefer. Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, we're talking about the,
This is only welcoming city
It's
here.
only welcoming city right now.
yes.
Yeah, so when we're finished, then you can talk about other matters.
Okay, is that the same, I'm wondering if that's the same as the, is that what, you had a different word for it?
That, yes.
Same thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, would you like to be heard?
Yes.
Yep. Come.
Hi, good evening. My name is Pam Foster. I'm from 11 Laurel Place here in Glen Ridge. And I'm here speaking both as a resident of this town for the last 18 years and as a member of the group of residents who put together the petition that you heard about a month ago. First and foremost, thank you. Thank you for listening to us and for considering the resolution and for drafting and putting it forward. The 501 residents who signed the petition did so because we believe that it is making a statement like this is consistent with our values, with our desire to be inclusive and welcoming to people from diverse backgrounds, and with how we want to see our town resources used and not used. The petition asked the town to commit to 3 protections for immigrants, that the town and our police department will not be deputized to enforce immigration policy, inquire as to immigration or citizenship status, or maintain records or issue reports on immigration or citizenship status. The language of the draft is clearly consistent with what we were, with the spirit of what we were asking for, but, so again, thank you. With any provision of law, how it ends up being applied on the ground is really often what matters most. So I actually have a few questions that, as we were reading it, that we would like to just understand how the council thinks it would and should be applied in a few cases. Would you like to hear all 3 questions? Do you want me to do one at a time?
One at a time, please.
You got it. So the first is, my understanding is that that towns like ours can enter into agreements with the federal government. One example being under Section 287G agreements with the Department of Homeland Security that would in fact deputize towns. So the question, I guess, is in the absence of a provision to specifically exclude that option, do we think that this language sort of would stop us from entering into an agreement like that?
Michael, you want to go first? You look like
No, I'll let you go. Counselor.
First of all, historically, that hasn't been the case. We don't see that in the future. We do think that the collective work of this body, expressed in this resolution, expresses a desire that we would not do that unless we are required to do so by law. If we're required to do so by law, we will follow the law.
Understood.
And Chief, you may want to mention the fact that historically, for example, it's exceedingly rare in the time that the chief has been a captain for many years, and the chief, that we've actually even had incidents to report that we're required to report by law. So, Chief, you want to mention that?
About 2 weeks ago or so, the police commissioner asked me to see if I could come up with the numbers in the time that I worked at the police department, specifically from about 2001 until now, that we've had to follow the Attorney General Guidelines Directive 2007-3, and I could come up with three by memory. And the reason I came up with three is that I actually remember those three. We don't classify a report or a notification to either Homeland Security or now ICE as the header on a police report, but it's included in the body if somebody's arrested for drunk driving or a serious or indictable crime, and at that point their immigration status is inquired about. So I definitely could come up with three that I remembered in the period from 2001 until now, and two of the three were for drunk driving.
So I think the question I was asking is really whether, we were specifically hoping that the town would not sort of enter into one of those agreements that would effectively deputize our police department. So it sounds like your belief is that this language is consistent with that objective.
I would agree with that, Pam, and I would also, if I could just add, as a matter of practicality, in talking with the chief and having been involved with government here for many years, we have a very small police force. On a typical shift, we have 2 police officers and a sergeant patrolling. We don't have extra people working on our police force that we could afford to deputize to do the work of the federal government. We have the work of Glen Ridge to do. I would also add that we did discuss within the council the possibility that we might be asked to send someone to join a task force, say. We have done that in years past where there have been, say, anti-drug or there have been drug task forces that have been set up to go after, certain situations. And in that discussion, we all agreed that we would not support that we would send someone down to some sort of task force like that. Again, on practical grounds, we don't have extra people that we can second to anything like that. So, we can leave out the politics of it and just look at the practicality and say we have a very small police force, and we just don't have excess manpower. The federal government should do their job. We'll do our own.
That's helpful. So one of the questions I had actually is more of a piggyback on the point you were just discussing about the reporting obligations. So what I didn't read in the draft resolution is a sort of a commitment to not inquire. Understanding that you need to inquire in certain cases, particularly under the AG's rule or any other things that might come up. How do you see that playing out?
Well, we don't inquire, and the only time we do inquire, Chief, I don't want to speak for the force, but the only time we do inquire is when we're required to do so by law because of the offense of the particular arrest. So that's the policy of our department. Chief?
That is our policy, and I think that even when I read earlier today, some of the concerns that ACLU has about the Directive 2007-3, where it says that there's lots of gray areas. The way I read it and the way we operate at the Glen Ridge Police Department specifically is that there really is no gray area. The only time it is inquired about is if there is an arrest made for drunk driving or an indictable offense. Other than that, nobody else that's either arrested or is a witness or is, most importantly, a victim of crime is ever asked between 2007-3 directive and also the 2005 directive that came out, which really just talks about discriminatory police practices.
Okay, that's helpful. The third question I had is we had suggested and provided a sample of Maplewood's resolution, and it looks like that the draft was largely, well, I think it was modeled after it, but it was very close to it. There's one provision in the Maplewood resolution that we didn't see in the Glen Ridge one, and I was just curious, again, if that was intentional omission or how it will play out. The provision said that the police chief would develop an operational order and provide training to the police department. And given, again, that the way these things play out on the ground with the police force is really, at the end of the day, what this is all about, just wondered, whether that's something that would be beneficial to have in the resolution, or at least what the plan would be to make sure that the folks that are actually going to live this every day are living the spirit of it.
Well, I could piggyback what Councilor Hughes just mentioned. Yes, we considered it, we talked about it, we debated it, and we don't want to take on an affirmative obligation of that nature when, for example, our police department is doing so many other things in so many different areas. So we believe that it's an unnecessary provision in our instance in this town to do that.
Okay. I'm sorry, because I think that the point is that our policies and procedures are in fact consistent with the resolution, and I guess it would be so to the extent that there was a conflict or it was inconsistent with what was stated here, then we would address it. But I think our understanding is that this is consistent with what we do,
Okay.
and in fact our policies track this as well. I don't want to misstate anything, but
No, that's definitely a reiteration of the discussion that we had regarding the training that the Glen Ridge Police Department and our officers have, whether it's in-house on an annual basis in the police academy on a one-time basis, and our policies, procedures, and practices.
That's really helpful, and again, I really appreciate the dialogue on this. I guess what I would close with is just on the first 2 points that we talked about, then the sort of not entering contracts and the not inquiring, since that is already consistent with the intent. Would the council consider adding the provisions to that effect to the draft resolution?
We kind of think they're unnecessary. We think that the language that we adopted embodies those two points very well. We think we've achieved the goal of creating a clear explanation of the role of the Glen Ridge Police Department with regard to the question of immigration status.
I appreciate being heard on these.
Yeah, you have to understand, this is the collective work of all of us trying to demonstrate the spirit, the welcoming and generous spirit of our community. And we took into account the petition, which is very impressive, and the comments that were made several meetings ago, which were enlightening. But again, this resolution is the work of all of us. So we're trying to present it in the best fashion possible.
Fair enough, and I think I opened with our gratitude for hearing us and for the resolution, and honestly, I think I can speak for the group and say we are pleased. I think having these points of clarification makes me much happier than I was even coming in the room, so thank you. I don't know if anybody else.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Well, thank you.
Yes. Thank you all. I know you worked very hard.
Is there anybody else that would like to be heard on this?
No, I would just like to thank the group as well. I know you put in a lot of time and a lot of effort to research
and to come up with a presentation that was workable, thoughtful, and we appreciate the work that you did in getting it to us, because it made our work on this that much, I think, more productive and smoother, and so I'm very appreciative of all of your time.
Sure, and honestly, this is not something we would have done unless you brought it to us now. And we agree with it, and we wholeheartedly endorse it, and support it. This is the result. Yes, we can give you...
In order to allow these people to go home, we will move out of order, and you can introduce the resolution, if you will, please.
All right, then, all right, Mr. Mayor, I will then introduce resolution number 66-17. As I said, this is a resolution which is the collective work of this body of government. It reflects the generous and welcoming spirit of our community. It reflects the sentiment of this mayor and council about this very important issue. And it takes into account, as I said, the petition that was presented to us, and also the comments that were made by email and in person several weeks ago at our meeting. So I have resolution number 66-17, which expresses Glen Ridge's commitment to equal, respectful, and dignified treatment of all people, regardless of their immigration status, and to be a welcoming community. Mr. Mayor, I move the resolution.
Thank you. Paul, may I have a second? David, thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll and include the mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Hughes.
Aye.
Masovich.
Aye.
Lefkowitz.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
Mayor Patrick.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays. The resolution is adopted.
Well, for those of you who don't want to stay for the rest of the business, this might be a good time to take your leave.
Thank you. Sir, I can get you a copy. He got one. Oh, perfect. Okay.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break, then we're going to go back and take questions from the public.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
You might have gotten a ticket.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know, she was here for a meeting and she was
Eric, long time. How are you?
So I thought we had it all taken care of. I called over to
I thought this was a permanent, it's not, you have to renew it from...
No longer well, actually, next year you're going to do one.
Okay.
So I, fast forward.
All right.
She could tell me it's a good question. She said, very first
Time Turf became an issue.
so that's right. And tell her our
Came up to the committee. He was on that committee with Kit's husband. Yeah. Sort of blank. Yeah, Lisa Kelly. Yes, Eric. Yeah. Very much.
I know you did. I know.
It's about 30 minutes. And he was basically working in the 30 minutes. And then it's got the clock, of course, at that point, so now that one goes, and I think he gave her the friend or whatever, and it shows that. Any questions? And of course, your check.
Yeah.
Yes, I did, thank you, and I think we're ready to, tomorrow that'll be up.
Take that in front of me.
Handguns out.
Good.
In Clifton, they are, they're.
Well, they may, but I just thought that you were going to do it.
Nope.
I would have put a little bit more on.
Yep.
Some parents get a little nervous about that.
No, absolutely not.
Good. All right, that works then. That's
And
good.
thank you so much for all of that
Well, that's just
input.
You didn't expect such a late night, did you? I'm sorry. It's interesting, right? You're in this week? Good to see you. Yeah, I'm in. I got a lot of meetings this week. At least tomorrow and Wednesday, and then Friday. All right. I got my car in the afternoon. So I'll probably go there. Well, maybe Wednesday. We're doing that Wednesday thing. Right. Oh, yeah. Let's do something. I'll talk to Dan and see if he's around, and Bob Moore. We'll do another Fitzgerald night. Non-bread and potatoes. We don't have to go there if you don't want to, but it's just so easy. I know that. We already. Yeah. We'll be here till breakfast. You're hungry. Hey, Mark. Why are we just you just like to play with that. So we're back. Separation. Separation. Okay, we're back to session. Just cut the table. Yeah. This is the time for anybody else in from the public that would like to address the council. So, it is. Peter, do you want to move forward?
Your turn, Peter.
Now I'm at home. Hello?
Hi, Peter.
Hey, Peter.
Hello, everyone. Where is that? Oh, what was I going to say? Oh, am I being photographed?
No.
Okay, because I went to my good friend of mine from Glen Ridge, Ranucci. He's an oral surgeon in Montclair, and I went to him, and I can smile and you can figure out why. But he said he saw a picture of me. It was taken here 2 weeks ago. And the caption of, he couldn't tell me. He said he saw it on Facebook. But the caption of it, I know they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. The caption said for the sanctuary, what in general it was. But, I didn't come here for that purpose. So I'm wondering if there's any rules here about if you have to say I if you want to be in a picture or not. I kind of lent my image to a photograph which was captioned, which didn't really represent why I was here. Is there any rules about photographs, unbeknownst?
Not that I know of.
Am I giving my consent to being photographed?
Well, we are being taped. You're being videotaped right now.
Okay, but at least I can speak up and say, no, I want this to be a sanctuary for blind residents, not foreigners. But, okay, I'm being videotaped. Good. Oh, that's for Tara, right? She does the transcript. So what I brought here is what I call the smoking gun, and the people who gave it to me don't even know it's a smoking gun. Basically, because we're talking about the truncated dome, which we talk about at the street intersection. And here it shows how they did the research. 10 people, not 10,000, 10 people, experienced cane users like me, 10 out of tens of thousands, right? Walk down a ramp. Now this is a ramp. It's a contrived experiment. Obviously it's not like Glen Ridge slate sidewalks and doesn't involve snow, leaves, obstructing it, whatever. 10 blind people walking down a ramp with a truncated dome. And they even found with that, 6 of the people said they'd be more likely to walk with the truncated dome. As opposed to, well, I mean, you can wonder about 6 out of 10 more likely as opposed to being afraid to leave their house. What does that mean? 6 out of 10, what does that mean? They feel confident they can cross the street, and 9 times out of 10 they'll know they're crossing the street. It means if I walk from my house to the post office and back again, twice I'm going to cross the street unbeknownst to me. But that's the good scenario. 4 out of 10 are afraid, are going to say, it's dangerous out there. So they, well, if you want to go from this sample of 10 people, 40%, they're extrapolating, will be afraid or be at least apprehensive about. So basically this research here, this smoking gun, took account of the fact that these curb cuts would be a hazard to me. They knew it, and they followed through anyway. So this study, this whatever, became mandate from the federal government, and it became actually put into effect at municipalities all around the United States. And the federal government held your hand, or I should say tied your hand by saying if you want federal funding. So I mean, it seems a little strange, like the Wizard of Oz. It's like there's just this man behind the curtain. This is the man behind the curtain. This pathetic study of 10 blind people even found that they wouldn't feel confident, really, walking the street. But what they're doing is they're basically bribing, by holding back funds, to do it anyway. I mean, I know Mr. Rojas, he observed that it would be dangerous for blind people, but he did it anyway, because you have to if you want funding. And so, why am I here? Why Glen Ridge? Why am I picking on Glen Ridge? Well, the answer is that I live here, and I want to be able to walk freely again. Now, I know it may be a lost cause, but didn't Clarence Darrow say the only lost causes are the only causes worth fighting? What am I going to do? I want to be free. So, and I also said, kind of to relate it to, why did Rosa Parks pick on that bus company? Well, that's the bus she rode to get to work. It's got to start somewhere. Does anyone have any questions? I don't want to go on, but this is the smoking gun. All the whatever about federal mandates, everything, all comes down to this study, which 10 people, and they handed it to me, which means they don't even know what they're doing. You know, it was like the goal was to do this for the, they were thinking of the logo, because that's a wheelchair. And actually, well, you can look at it this way too. There is an Architectural Barriers Act. Well, once you have an act and you call something a barrier, well, then that must be destroyed. Well, it was never a barrier to me. It was a vital warning. So am I going to pass a law called the Vital Warnings Act? It's just a curb. Now think about your life, all the things that are vital warnings, you don't think of them as being like targets to someone who wants to call it a barrier, a hazard. It's a scary world where people who have different needs become active and use a different metaphor. Instead of vital warning, it becomes an architectural barrier. And suddenly you find a law sneaks up on you, and the thing that you depended on to get around is gone because someone else's interest narrow-minded interest, because there could have been a better design if you wanted to make it accessible to everyone. That's why I referred to Buzz Aldrin, who was born, he was born here. The idea of, like, the amazing thing isn't that we put a man on the moon, but that we got him back safely. I mean, that's probably 3 times harder. So, it's easy to tear down a curb, but can you make it so it doesn't endanger people who have different needs? And apparently, they left the man on the moon. They left me at home, my needs were not considered.
Excuse me, have you been in contact with Mike Rohol?
Yeah, I mean, his hands are tied. He had to do it.
Mike?
Huh?
It's true. We're having a comment with this Mike tonight. It's true, up here in the Senator, we talked about this at symposiums on ADA ramps, about how these could be misdirected due to the placement of what you call the truncated dome. And also it creates problems for people in walkers. So there's
For what?
Individuals with walkers have problems going over that dome too. So
walkers too.
Yeah, so I heard that feedback too. And obviously, I think one of the problems too, you said that we have to have the ramp flush with the roadway, Peter. Is that one of the problems too, that you don't have the differentiation? As a designer, we have a lot of problems with that with stormwater. So I understand what you're saying. The only problem we have is it's a federal violation if you receive road grants not to install ADA ramps to that level, to that specification rather. And several cities, major cities, Philadelphia and Los Angeles, were finding how to have compliance plans, which are rather expensive since they didn't follow the regulations on ADA compliance. So I understand your position. Unfortunately, we're a small municipality, and in order we don't really have the resources to fight the federal government. Also, it's a requirement of the New Jersey Department of Transportation to follow the guidelines. Guidelines for mayor and council guidelines changed a few years ago. And it's much more expensive, some of the requirements, like there used to be. And I think you used to, like when there was a reveal of the curb at the roadway, Peter.
What's that?
Right at the roadway, you said before. Now we have to have it flush with the roadway, the ramp. You said you preferred before when you had a little bit of a reveal on the curb so you could feel it. That has been eliminated now. So I understand that. I think I spoke about this in our first conversation, that I agree with you that in seminars we've been bringing it up, that several of the design features really impact negatively visually impaired people. So we were cognizant of it, and unfortunately it's both federal regulation that has been passed now.
But that federal regulation is going to change.
If it does, if it does
change,
and the DOT...
I mean, this research is so superficial, in fact, because, like, walking around with a cane, I think they also said those truncated domes make a certain sound. Forget about it, leaves on the sidewalk, whatever. And it depends, you have to walk at the right pace and hope that your cane hits it. It's really quite absurd. In fact, I'm learning all the time how absurd this is. I was walking with a friend, and I'm not using my cane, I'm holding his arm. And I'm saying, are we coming up on Argyle? And he says, we passed it. Walked right over it. I kind of, before they were gone, I'm like, how we function in the world. We subconsciously, I passed Argyle. And now it's like, where am I? I mean, that happens, if you walk down Ridgewood Avenue, it's like, where am I? Was I not counting correctly? I mean, they actually, it's quite clear that they knew it would be hazardous to blind people. They knew it. And they thought, well, they'll just have to accommodate. It was really a tough luck attitude. And like one by one, almost, I'm calling people when I mention this. I remember I was talking to someone in Kalamazoo, and just because I was someone from my bank, and I said, it's hard to get to. I don't go to the bank anymore because it's not safe. I'm blind. It's not safe. She said, I know. I said, how do you know? She says, my grandmother's blind. In other words, we're all over the place. We're just separate and dispersed and staying home on our own. So are we going to all get together? No, because we don't have an interest. We don't have a logo, right? We can't call something a barrier suddenly. It's like we're going to now pass the Vital Warnings Act. I need the curb. It's a vital warning. So now you put the curbs back. It's a crazy game. So I'm actually in touch with Phil Murphy, so I gotta hope he gets elected. He's aware of this issue and interested in, I mean, maybe if we can do, we're talking about making this a sanctuary, doing something locally, like coming up with solutions so you don't alienate some portion of the society who happen to be blind, happen to be sighted now. Like people in wheelchairs, there's no guarantee they're not going to be blind too, and they'll really be in trouble. And what were you saying with this other population was who again?
Individuals and walkers also complain about.
They don't like the truncated.
Yeah, because going over it is difficult for them. So I think I have to go back and research, but I think this is all what you're complaining about was all developed with help the visually impaired. Believe it or not.
Say it again.
Part of the reason for that truncated, what you call it be the truncated kernel,
Yeah.
was supposedly to assist individuals.
But I've got the evidence right here. It's 10 people.
But I'm saying that's how it was explained when they first came out with them, because it actually brought us additional costs, and we have to meet the new standards. So we were informed. In fact, DOT requires us to put them in, but we have to go to the state's historic preservation office to get each job approved because of the historic designation for most of us. But maybe you could give me a call, we could meet one day so I could see, determine what your problem is and design just the changes you want to make. Because I could talk maybe to DOT, not to change things, but at least express what the problem is with the design.
Peter, I brought this up.
I know.
We've all told Peter this many, many months ago. Speak to you to see what we can do to make his life easier. And you have to do that, Peter. You have to talk to Michael. And if you don't, there's nothing we can do.
It's not a matter of you doing it, because I got to go from here to somewhere else. Right? So even if it's done here, that makes Glen Ridge a sanctuary.
Have you considered putting together a petition with sight impaired folks, petitioning the federal government for a change? For better, instead of 10 of you, you got 10,000 of you coming up with a solution?
I got it put together. Yeah, I actually am in touch because I know the American Council for the Blind. I knew someone who was active with them, and they're now on the list of people who gave their approval to this. Now, I know the person I was not in favor of this. And so what happened was somehow they had to ultimately they had to rubber stamp this. They must have been strong-armed, the same way Glen Ridge is being strong-armed. If you want our funds, you got to do this. So what I'm saying is I got a big settlement for pain and suffering because I was hit by a car. And so what's going to happen is a few people are going to be killed before there's a wake-up call and it's going to be changed. And I'm trying to preempt people getting killed.
But that can't be done at the local level. We can only help you locally where you live.
Right. So
we have to reach out at a much higher level than Glen Ridge, New Jersey.
Right. Well, at least I'm on record. I mean, like I was saying, Rosa Parks had to sit down on someone's butt. You got to start somewhere. So actually, can I hand this to someone just so you can see? You see what I marked off? It's like.
Can we keep
Peter? Peter?
Yeah.
It's getting very late. We
All
have
right.
the whole thing. So again, please get in touch with Mike Bohall. When there's time for you to sit with him and have a calm conversation and vet this whole thing out, because we really cannot help you here. Michael's got to talk with you and find out what the real problems are and what we might possibly be able to do to make things a little better. But we can't do it here. So please do that.
Yeah, a little better.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. You've been very patient, sir.
Let's see. My name is George Stafford. I live at 16 Kitchell Avenue in Wharton, New Jersey, and I'm here representing the New Jersey Highlands Coalition, ANJAC, and Keep It Green, which is a statewide open space advocacy group. I was a town councilman for 10 years in the borough of Wharton, and I know exactly how you feel, and I'm going to get out of here before you do, so I'm going to be very brief. We have two resolutions here. One's about the New Jersey State Water Plan. This legislature advocated and passed a water plan in 1996. They did a study, and they haven't done a study since. So I bring my 1996 cell phone here to demonstrate what we're dealing with as far as the changes. We've got 1 million more people in this state than we had in 1996, and we have 250,000 acres less of open space. And open space is very important. Communities like yours that are built out, it's one thing, but you're getting your water from west of here, and we don't know where it's going, who's getting it, how much we're losing to infrastructure. It's estimated we lose 25% of the treated water that we send to homes through infrastructure. It just leaks. So the other is a resolution is from Keep It Green, and it's asking that, like the other resolution, the first one, that you ask the state legislature and the governor's office to get us increase in the amount of money for open space, because we need it for groundwater recharge. It's estimated that the Highlands in 1999 exported 106 billion gallons of water. 2011, the number was 136. Now it's 6 years later, and it's got to be a lot more. We've had, since 2011, the economies came back. We have more building. You guys are having more building. And we don't know what the numbers are. You know, we're planning on a lot of things, but we don't know if we have enough water. And we came very close last fall, just before Thanksgiving. We have a photograph where you could step across the Rockaway River where it went into the Jersey City Reservoir. Things came back. We get 50 inches of rain a year. Seattle gets 37. We only got 40 inches last year. If we get 2 of those years back to back, we're going to be in serious trouble. So we need to know, we need to save the open space we have left, and we need to know about where the water's going, so we need the water plan. I emailed a copy of these resolutions, and my contact information is here. And I'll get out of your hair unless you have a question.
No, I personally support what you're after. I mean,
Well, thank you.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. June is going to be Open Space Month, so if you could get that to us before June the 1st, that'd be nice. I have to say congratulations. 10 years on my town council. I think we got applause like twice. So, and one of those was for a snowplow change, you know. So I congratulate you, and I congratulate you on what you've done. And I'm gonna get out of your way.
Thanks for coming. Thank you.
Have a good trip home.
Drive safe.
Yeah, that doesn't happen every week.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night.
Let's find out where we are. Okay, finish with comments from the public. So, Councilor Hughes.
Mayor, I have 3 resolutions tonight.
Excuse me.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
We have the amendment hearing first.
Oh, you want to do the amendment hearing first?
Oh, wait a minute, you have it separated, that's why.
You have it separated, so I'm going to read
I'm sorry.
resolution, well,
I thought it was like
I've got 64 and 65. Is it okay if I read?
317.
Yeah, can we do the bills?
We could do the bill, after the bill, we do the bill, and then we have to go into the hearing.
All right, Mayor, I offer resolution 6317 be it resolved that the following claims be approved and warrants be drawn for the same, and be it resolved the Chief Financial Officer, Treasurer of the Borough of Glenridge is hereby authorized to issue the payroll for the employees of the Borough of Glenridge for the pay date of May 1, 2017. Mayor, I move the resolution.
Thank you, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Paul. Any discussion? If not, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Hughes.
Aye.
Masovis.
Aye.
Lefkowitz.
Aye.
Johnson is absent. Murphy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays. The resolution is approved.
And Mayor, I also have resolutions.
Excuse me,
Councilor Hughes, we have to have the...
we're going to suspend the
Okay.
regular order of business for the
Okay.
budget amendment.
Mr. Mayor, this is the time for a public hearing on municipal budget amendment for 2017. The amendment was advertised as required on April 13th, 2017, together with notice of the hearing for this time. Printed copies have been made available to the public. The supply is here for anybody desiring a copy. They're placed for anybody that desires one. They're placed at Councilor Morrow's desk. Mr. Mayor, just a summary of the amendment. When we submitted the introduced budget to the state, we included both the principal and interest payment for the revaluation. The state required us to move $793 in interest expense to a separate line item. When you introduce insert a new line of appropriation, a budget hearing is required, and that's why we're here this evening. Once we pass this amendment, the state has given us approval to approve the 2017 municipal and utility budgets.
Thank you, Michael. Before opening this hearing, I wish to outline the procedure. Each person desiring to be heard will rise and give his or her name and address before speaking. I will recognize one speaker at a time in order of rising as nearly as I can determine. Address all questions to the chair. Where necessary, they will be referred to individual members of the Borough Council, municipal officials, or our advisors. Questions must be confined solely to the municipal budget amendment before us. School or county matters are not proper subjects of this hearing and cannot be discussed or answered here tonight. I now declare open the public hearing on the municipal budget amendment for 2017. Is there anybody who'd like to be heard?
Mr. Mayor, I admit one item. This budget amendment will have no impact on the tax levy. The tax levy will remain the same.
Thank you. Seeing no questions on the floor, I declare I will entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Thank you. Paul. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Peter. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Hughes.
Aye.
Pasovic.
Aye.
Lefkowitz. Aye. Murphy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. Now you-
Okay, Resolution 64-17. Whereas the local municipal budget for the year 2017 was approved on the 13th day of March, and whereas the public hearing on said budget has been held and advertised, and where it is desired to amend said approved budget, now therefore be resolved by the governing body of the Borough of Glen Ridge, County of Essex, the following additional amendments to the approved budgets be made, and be it further resolved that the 2 certified copies of this resolution be filed in the office of the director, and further resolved this is the complete amendment in accordance with provisions of New Jersey statutes published in the Glen Ridge paper issue of April 13, 2017, and that said publication contain notice of a public hearing, which we just had, on said amendment to be held at the municipal building on April 24th at 7:30. Mayor, I move the resolution.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Paul. Any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilperson Hughes.
Aye.
Pasovic.
Aye.
Lefkowitz. Aye. Murphy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays, the resolution is approved.
And Mayor, I have a second resolution, number 65-17. Glen Ridge, the Borough of Glen Ridge, County of Essex, budgeted hereinbefore set forth, is hereby adopted and shall constitute an appropriation for the purposes stated in the sums therein, set forth as appropriations and authorization in the amount of $10,820,659.12. It is hereby certified that the within budget is a true copy of the budget finally adopted by the resolution of the governing body on the 10th of April, 2017. It is further certified that each item of revenue and appropriation is set forth in the same amount and by the same title as appeared in the 2017 approved budget, and all amendments thereto, if any, which have been previously approved by the Director of Local Government Services. Mayor, I move the resolution.
You've heard the resolution. Can I hear a second?
Yes, I will second again.
Thank you, Paul. Any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Hughes.
Aye.
Pasovic.
Aye.
Lefkowitz. Aye. Murphy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays, the resolution is approved and the budget is finally adopted.
Great. Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you.
Mayor, that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilman Solich.
Sure, Mr. Mayor, I only have ordinance number 1660 for first reading. This is an ordinance to amend Chapter 10.32, the parking restrictions on designated streets, including Ridgewood Avenue.
Can I hear a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Dan. Is there any discussion on the members of the council on this ordinance?
Not on this.
Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilor Hughes.
Aye.
Pasovic.
Aye.
Lefkowitz. Aye. Murphy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays, the ordinance is passed on first reading.
I refer ordinance number ordinance number 1660 to the municipal clerk for the purpose of statutory publication and posting.
That's all I have.
Yeah, I have two resolutions this evening. Both resolutions are on the same matter, which is to offer the support of Glen Ridge to library construction bonds that are making their way through the New Jersey Senate and Assembly right now. And for reasons that are a little bit obscure, there need to be two resolutions, one supporting the bond act that is circulating in each house. So the sense of it is just that it's been many years since there's been a library bond in New Jersey. And of course we value very highly the library that we have and want to extend that to supporting libraries generally in the state. So I would like to move Resolution 6717 and 6817, which are more or less identical, except that they address the Senate and the Assembly.
Can we pass these together?
Similar to a consent agenda, since they're identical, we can take one roll call vote for both resolutions.
May I hear a second?
I'll second it. Okay.
Thank you, Paul. Any further discussion?
I'm pretty good at seconding.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Hughes.
Aye.
Lusovich.
Aye.
Leftwich.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays. The resolution is approved. The resolutions, are approved.
Councilor Dawson is not here, so Councilor Murphy.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have for you ordinance number 1660, an ordinance to amend Chapter 12, Streets, Sidewalks, and Public Places in the Borough of Glen Ridge, also known as the No Dog Ordinance. No dogs are allowed on the dogs are barking. Clayfield, Sherman Avenue Field, and now, in addition to those fields, George Washington Field. I have for you, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance 1660 for the first reading.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Is there any discussion on this ordinance among council members?
Mr. Mayor, this is born out of the fact that folks are bringing the dogs onto George Washington Field, which is our newly turfed field, and they were not cleaning up after those dogs. So we decided that we needed to add this field to an existing ordinance.
And our partner, Montclair, has joined in that request.
Yes. Yeah, we had to get their thumbs up first.
One slight change, the ordinance number 1661.
That's what I thought I said.
Will clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Hughes.
Aye.
Lusovich.
Aye.
Leftwich.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays. The resolution is approved.
I refer ordinance number 1661 to the municipal clerk for the purpose of statutory publication and posting.
Mr. Mayor, I have resolution number 69-17. Be it resolved that the mayor's appointment of Lynn Van Stowe to serve on the borough's Historic Preservation Committee as a Class A alternate member and be the same is hereby approved and confirmed. The term shall expire on December 31st, 2017.
You've heard the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Marie. Any discussion? She will be an alternate.
Yes. Yeah. And as an alternate, it's really a one-year term, but in this case, it's to expire at the end of the year. She comes highly recommended, and I've seen her certificate, her resume, and it's very impressive. And I think she'll be a welcome addition to the Historic Preservation Commission.
That's good. Glad to have.
Yeah, we're lucky to have her. We're lucky to have her.
Will clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Hughes.
Aye.
Lusovich.
Aye.
Leftwich. Aye. Murphy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays. The resolution is approved.
Mr. Mayor, I have a brief report. We recently had what may have been the most attended egg hunt ever on Saturday, April 15th at Carteret Park. Approximately 100 kids took part in the hunt. Each child went home with at least one toy-filled egg, and a great time was had by all. Registration for the Glen Ridge Community Pool, the Glen Ridge Rec Summer Day Camp, and Freeman Tennis Courts is now open. Registrations have been brisk thus far in all 3 programs, and it should be noted that space is limited. Register or really want a direct post, go to our website, glenridgenewjersey.org, and register online. It makes it a lot easier for us. And thirdly, Glen Ridge Rec and the Glen Ridge Seniors Golden Circle is running a bus trip to Penn's Peak in Jim Thorpe, PA on Thursday, May 11th. The cost is $55 and includes a family-style meal and entertainment. For more information, call Jim Cowan at the Rec office. A couple more things, Mr. Mayor. A dear friend of mine, Tom Fleming, suddenly passed away last Wednesday at a track meet in Verona. He was the namesake of the Tom Fleming Mile, which was held in conjunction with the Ashenfelter Classic on Thanksgiving Day. As everybody knows, Tom won the New York City Marathon twice. He was runner-up at Boston twice. He ran 63 marathons and won 27 of them, which is a relatively high percentage, I would say, mostly against tough international competition. He was beloved by the running community, and he is missed.
Thank you.
That's all I have to give.
Councilor Morrow.
I don't have anything this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have any comments from the administrator?
Just a couple public service announcements. On Saturday, Kiwanis is having their semi-annual collection at the high school, high school parking lot from 8:30 to 12:30. The same date, the Friends of the Library are having their annual shredding day at the parking lot from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. And Rotary on Thursday, May 4th, is having their 7th annual barbecue. Proceeds from the Rotary event will go to the John Brown Scholarship Fund, which is a scholarship for Glen Ridge High School seniors. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Your Honor?
I have no report, Mayor.
No report, Mayor.
Is there any new and unfinished business?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Now is the time for comments from the public. Would anybody like to be heard? Seeing none, Councilor Morrow has a motion for us.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Adjourn. Good.
Just a warm-up for one.
The optics are all wrong here, buddy.
Okay, thank you.